Once I learned my brother Felix's old house was up for sale, I had to take a peek around, check out the restorations that were being done. My nephew sold it, and this lot of land left our family for good. I must say the workers did a fine job, fast with all their fancy tools and gadgets. Much better than anything we had decades ago, and definitely better than what we had on the old family farm. Our grandparents' old place, that is. Their workers got to all the things I'd nagged Felix to do, but he never got around to. The house was spectacular when he moved in. I missed its old charm. He deserved a nice house, and not the dilapidated near shell that stood, the luster worn away by time and neglect, just as humans can age. I stayed out of the workers' way as much as I could, although I found it intriguing to observe them from off in the corner of whatever room they were in. I tried not to alert them of my presence. Unfortunately, I do believe at least one or two may have detected a curious someone lurking about. They didn't seem to mind if they had. Work progressed, and I was happy to see this old place return to what it once was. So many things are done so differently compared to the work we're used to. I was simply being nosy and meant no harm. Maybe that's why they had no issue I was here. That, and I left all their stuff alone. After all, I'm not some menacing spirit out to cause trouble. I'm simply Uncle Winston, and I was proud to be called that for years. I actually quite missed that. When Felix lived here, as time passed, I warned my brother that he and this house were not getting any younger. They were both showing their wear, and eventually I feared it would collapse around him. Even though I knew this was at one time a good sturdy house, I was still going to worry. I've always had a flair for the dramatic embellishments if necessary to get somebody to hear me out. The older Felix got, the less he could do, and he refused my help no matter what I offered. He refused his son's as well. His son was always over there to check on his dad, offering to fix this, replace that. However, my nephew had responsibilities of his own. He couldn't possibly manage both his home and his father, no matter how much he insisted. All of the children did have busy lives, so my brother just told everyone that he managed fine so far. Why fix anything if it's not truly broken? That was Felix's reasoning to refuse anyone's help, including my own. In his mind, he'd eventually get to it, so why worry? No, the way he saw it, the children needed to live their own lives, and it was up to us to help each other. Mother always did say, "We are our brother's keeper." That is what I was, no matter how stubborn Felix got, and the fuss he put up. You can see why I was so disheartened when he refused me, preferring to sit and visit and not allow my helpful hands to help my own brother. We were the last few remaining of not only our siblings, but our own cousins had been dropping like flies. I even outlasted my own twin brother, Wilhelm. That was a devastating blow to the entire family and our community. A fun fact for you about my brother Wilhelm. Actually, Wilhelm and I held the title of the first twins to be born in our tiny town, not long after it became an actual town. That was a big deal for some time, and our family did much to participate in the community as much as possible. Of our family to remain in this valley are only the children, the generations that followed ours. Their children are all spread all over the place. None were mine, since I had never married, but I had many nephews and nieces to love, and I did very much. I was, as I like to believe, the favorite uncle that had much free time to dote and spoil them all. I was invited and attended every birthday, every holiday, even if hosted at many different houses. I always made an appearance. My favorite times were gathering all of the children around to tell them stories. Whether it be tall tales we were told as children or exciting adventures that had led them to the founding of our fair city, the reason my grandparents came all this way from Ireland. The little ones were all too eager to hear. I've been told I was very charismatic as a storyteller. I love to share any story I can recall or even invent. The joy on those little faces, the more animated I got with my stories, the wonder and excitement in their eyes, that was true bliss. Even as the children had grown, becoming parents themselves, the rediscovery was just as exhilarating. Of course, by the time the next generations began, much of the family had spread out to the surrounding city and other small towns around ours. Very few in the family remaining near the old homestead down the road ways from this spot, actually. More generations had come, more space was necessary to grow. I can imagine that this was necessary, as I was the last of near 30 cousins, a single generation, our numbers growing exponentially as the years pass, like rabbits, and more pens being necessary over time. We eventually had to collect numerous homes to accommodate us all. I've gone by the old farm, but it's changed so much I never stay long. It doesn't hold the same feeling as it was to visit in life, warm and inviting as when my grandparents, our parents, and our many aunts and uncles surrounded us at one time, never straying far. However, today, much of my time I spend checking on the more immediate family, peeking in when new additions arrive and stopping by all of our old houses simply to reminisce. That is becoming increasingly difficult to do with so many being born all the time, or greeting those one by one as the next generations join me on this side. I'm beginning to grow tired and lonely as I help each pass to the next phase. I stay simply because I choose to, for now. My parents and siblings long gone to the great beyond. No one remained to greet me when it was my time. I wonder if they're just waiting for me on the other end. I, however, am still undecided. There's always much to do. That is why I came by my brother's old place so recently. I've been debating for some time if I, too, should move on and join my family. I do miss them so. However, there is always so much to see. Our family's expanded to the point I can't keep up with them anymore. I'm not a busybody by any means, just a very curious observer that hates to miss a single thing. Inquisitive to a fault. I honestly can't help myself. Today I notice that I see many new faces I don't recognize or remember which family member they were born from. I miss my siblings terribly. My parents, I feel them, but I haven't seen them in an eternity. To be able to hear my grandfather tell one of his stories about Ireland again would be such a treasure. His genetics, lent to me, was a gift. The stories, that was what I proudly tried to demonstrate and pass on to the next generations. Unfortunately, storytelling is becoming a lost art. Everyone's just too busy nowadays. Caught mid-thought hearing a car door shut outside the house, I rush to the window. I can see a woman in business attire speaking with two couples on the lawn as the woman points around while they chat. The sign on the door of her vehicle indicates she must be some kind of real estate agent. Ah, then this must be prospective buyers. Looks as I showed up at the perfect time. Again, my curiosity getting the best of me. I have to stay and check these folks out. This way, if I do move on, I can tell my brother who's taking care of his old place. He'd appreciate that. These young couples, it's an entirely new family, can breathe life into this old house once again. I wonder if they have little ones that like stories.